Well, we're always set to have a lot of fun here on Kelly and Company, but today I have to say, somewhat, we're going to give you the business. On today's show, is there a dark side to the beauty industry? Of course there is, but Frances Wong helps us choose personal care products that are better for us and the environment. And conversations about patriotism are heating up in the business world. Kevin Shaw knows how brand identity and national identity go hand in hand. So he's here with some facts and stories about beloved Canadian companies to help us get into the maple spirit out here in Canada and, of course, abroad, right? We're going to make sure of that. Today, folks, it's all about the brand loyalty.
This is Kelly and Company.
Thanks for being with us. I'm Kelly MacDonald, host of the program Kelly and Company. However you're consuming this on YouTube or maybe via the podcast, welcome aboard. Glad to have you. If you wouldn't mind, give us a rating and review. Give us a rating and I guess review does kind of work, but that's not really what it is, right? Also, subscribe to our YouTube page. Nazreen, good day to you.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Good day. Thank you. And I just thinking about this article that we're going to get into later. Shame on you. I'm starting to get cravings, man.
Good. Well, it's an interesting article on chocolate and people's preferences. I'll have to keep remembering that we're going from worse to bad when we get into the conversation in a little while today on the show. This is something I've had and I've held on to it for quite a while, since January. But what timing, because we've got Easter next week and so many of us get into the consumer portion of that. We have to have our chocolate. Are you a chocolate or white bunny person? I should say white chocolate, I guess I should say. Right?
White chocolate. And no, I'll go for the milk chocolate bunny. But when I was a kid, I used to get those like big bunny packs.
Oh,
and
yes.
we split it between my siblings. But we'd always buy mini eggs every Easter. Like that was my thing. It's still my thing, to be honest. No shame in that. I'm a big mini eggs person.
So when I was a kid, I hated peanut butter. I wouldn't eat any mix of peanut butter, nothing at all.
You
but
surprise
I love
me every day.
I know. But now I absolutely love it. It's my number one. I love the Reese's Easter eggs, which is, I think, what made me sort of really turn the corner. Now I'm a Reese's cup person. But I also tried to be cool as a kid and go to white chocolate. Don't ask me how come that was cooler than just regular chocolate. I have no idea, but I made my poor mother go look for the white chocolate hens, the white chocolate bunnies, and I would sit there and eat them. Certainly not as much as I gulped down a chocolate bunny. It was almost like my own restraint. But for me, for some reason, I'd like a white bunny on a white chocolate. What? Okay.
Dollarama had the best. We used to go to Dollarama and just get a bunch of packs, especially after Easter when they're trying to get rid of them.
Well, and as a kid, you don't care on the quality, as we'll get into in a little while when we go through this article, because so much of that matters. Folks, as you consume the program, do us a favor. As I said, please go and give us a rating and review when you check out the podcast, please, and subscribe to our YouTube page. It's great to see the numbers going up and people enjoying the content out there.
So one of the things that has been overlooked in the past in the beauty industry is the ugly side of it. Today, we're going to shine a light on this topic so that you're aware of the things that you can do to choose the best products for yourself. Frances Wong is here to help us out. Frances, hi.
Hi, Nazreen. I think that consumers are becoming more conscious and aware of the things that they're putting in and on their bodies, but it's still easy to be misled by marketing. And in honor of Earth Month and taking care of the earth, I thought that we could, extend that to taking care of ourselves. After all, we only have one body. Our skin, being the largest organ of the body, serves as a barrier to protect us from pathogens, but at the same time, what we put on our skin can be absorbed, and this is what we need to pay attention to. Now, it's not just body creams and lotions that we put on our skin, but that of other products, such as cosmetic and other personal care products.
So can you give us some examples of that?
Yeah, so I just want to distinguish the difference between cosmetics and personal care products. So
Yes,
Health
please.
Canada defines a cosmetic as any substance used to clean, improve, or change the complexion, skin, hair, nails, or teeth. Some cosmetics are personal care products, but not all personal care products are cosmetics.
Right.
So the US Food and Drug Administration categorizes cosmetics into things like skin moisturizers, lipsticks, fingernail polishes, eye and facial makeup preparations, shampoos, hair coloring, toothpaste, deodorants, and perfumes. So it's quite a lot. And
Yeah.
if they don't fall into this cosmetics category, then these personal care products are likely to be regulated as drugs. So things like skin protectants such as lip balms and diaper ointments, mouthwashes that are marketed with therapeutic claims, antiperspirants, and treatments for dandruff or acne. So notice how deodorants are classified as a cosmetic, whereas antiperspirant, because it has the function of stopping you from sweating, is classified as a drug. And both deodorants and antiperspirants are considered personal care products.
Yeah. See,
So
I would have
it's
thought
kind of
toothpaste would have been in there, right? Like, you just think because it's a necessity to take care.
Yeah, I think that with toothpaste, though, if it's added things like whitening, otherwise you're thinking, it's just cleaning, right? It's kind of like soap, you're just cleaning. But if it has extra capabilities, then they kind of classify it differently, because I guess they're also making claims. Lastly, personal care products aren't limited to just cosmetics or drugs. It can also refer to other regulated categories, such as dietary supplements, like vitamins and minerals, or medical devices like hair removal devices.
So when it comes to choosing products, most of us go for the ugly for most of us go by branding and what's trending. I personally use what's trending and what's branding out there. What should we actually be looking for on labels? Because remember, I feel like nowadays we go on TikTok and Instagram and we see these celebrities using these products and they're like, oh, this is so amazing, but they're sponsored by these products. So how can you really depend on that? But a lot of us, including me, I follow these people and they're like showcasing these products. I don't know what to exactly look for. Is there a specific label? Are there labels in general should we be watching out for?
Yes, we can get to that. But I think we should talk about sort of the unintended consequences of using products with undesirable ingredients. So
Yes.
because most of these products are applied directly to our skin, which is our largest organ, it can be absorbed. And so in a way, we're ingesting the product, but through our skin instead of our mouth. So generally, there are health concerns from some ingredients that may be linked to cancer, developmental and reproductive toxicity, endocrine disruption, allergens and irritants, organ system toxicity, and also environmental concerns. So one place that the audience can go to is the California Proposition 65 list. California has quite stringent rules, and you can look up ingredients by the chemical name and see the corresponding type of toxicity. So I don't say and list all these things to scare people. There are studies there that have linked certain chemicals to cancers and things like that. So you can look that up online. But there are definitely ingredients that we can avoid if we want to use cleaner beauty products. And so one of the things I would say is that first of all, it's nice to look at what's on social media and see what's trending, but trends are going to be, again, like you said, it's going to be people that are paid or sponsored by a brand to present that product. So that's the first thing. So I would probably lay off on trends, because sometimes trends have new products and things and chemicals maybe that are in the products that maybe haven't been tested as well. They're just, promoting it because it's the latest and greatest. And secondly, everyone is unique. So your skin is different from my skin, and even your own skin is going to be different day to day, month to month, depending on, did you get enough sleep? Did you eat a good diet? Or if you had a lot of, if you had a lot of junk food and you're traveling or you're dehydrated, your skin is just not going to be looking the best. So products that you regularly use that work for you may not work for you on certain days, just based on your own lifestyle. So you'll want to keep that in mind. And specifically for Canadians, Health Canada has a cosmetics ingredient hot list, which lists prohibited and restricted ingredients. The Environmental Working Group is a nonprofit based out of Washington, D.C. And, with food, there's such things as like the top 12 foods that you don't want to eat because of pesticides. So they have something that's similar. It's the 12 toxic chemicals and contaminants that can be found in cosmetics. I'm not going to list them all here, but there are some key ones that just me mentioning them, you'll probably think, these are things I probably want to avoid. So things like formaldehyde, paraformaldehyde, mercury, dibutyl phthalates, and isopropyl parabens. And the campaign for safety cosmetics also has a top 20 toxic ingredients in cosmetics list that you can download. Now, having said all that, again, some people are going to have more sensitive skin than other people. So even though something may be fairly neutral, your skin might react to it just because that composition that may interact not well with that ingredient. So just because it's not on the list doesn't mean that it's good for your specific body. So it's really kind of more like maybe testing products. And Sephora is really, I don't work for Sephora, but Sephora has a really good policy where you can buy the product and try it out. And if it doesn't work for you, or the shade is not the right shade, you can return it and within a certain time period. And so that way you can kind of try it and see if it works for your skin over a few weeks. And while you're shopping, the other thing that is quite handy is, everything's online now. There are apps. One is called Think Dirty, and they can scan the barcode of the item that you have in hand, and it will list, the potential toxins in household, personal care, and beauty products. And Skin Deep is also another app that you can look at. I'm sure there's more, but this is pretty handy because you don't necessarily want to remember everything when you go out, but you can scan it and check the ingredients. And also the other thing I will mention is that Sephora does have a clean label for some of their products. So they're not 100% clean. It's kind of hard to create the looks that people want with 100% purely clean products, chemicals and ingredients. But they do have certain products that are more clean or less dirty than others. And they will have a little label with a little green leaf on it. So you can look at that online or in store. You can ask someone for cleaner products. If it's unavoidable and you have to choose between two products, again, look at the ingredient label and notice where the placement of the chemicals are. So when companies list ingredients in a product, the first few items that are listed are going to be the ones where it's the most in the product. So you're going to want to look for the more toxic chemicals to be at the end of the list. So that means that proportionally it has less chemicals. And you'll want to weigh it out through other factors, like how many other toxic ingredients are on that list. So it's kind of more like a personal choice, personal decision, and how well does that product work for you? So it's a combination of things. And again, we were talking earlier, like if you're traveling and you need to use something for a short time, a couple of days, it's probably fine. If you ran out of your favorite makeup and you need to run to the drugstore and get something, a couple of days is not going to hurt you. But your skin is your best feedback. It will tell you right away or over the next 24 hours whether that was a good decision or not. And then you can kind of judge based on, or even using it something a little bit longer term, you notice like over a month that, my skin seems to be a little bit drier. So that means that maybe the product has been drying you out slowly over time. So you can kind of get feedback based on the duration of how long you've been using it. And of course, it's going to be dependent. Are you wearing makeup, 24 hours a day, which you shouldn't be? Are you wearing it just for like an afternoon or just on the weekends? So it's going to all vary depending on you personally. So it's a matter of trial and error. But we can, even though it's impossible to avoid some of these chemicals, we can work on minimizing our exposure and use of those toxic beauty products. And that's also great for the environment because we don't want that stuff going back into our planet, into the earth.
And it's interesting too, because just because it's on a list doesn't mean it's banned. Not, the companies maybe encourage, oh, you might want to find an alternative, but some people figure, well, yeah, but it's such a small little bit, but the environment doesn't care about that, and your body may not, especially over a period of time. And I think that's really great with the app, because people do have to think about it that way. For some people may have a tolerance, may make the decision that I don't mind, I'm not really worried about this but being a carcinogen in some way or doing something to me I don't want. So I think that's where people get confused too, because we get thinking, well, they wouldn't let it be in there if it was dangerous to us, Frances.
Yeah, I think that we have to be careful there, because it could be that if you hit a certain limit, say, like 50 milligrams or whatever is the limit. If they drop it and they put it to 49, then they still slide under that line and say it's like okay to use. So you're not breaking down the ingredient list when you're looking at it, but obviously the fewer chemicals in that list, the better it is for your body and for the earth.
Yeah, I think a lot of us don't really look at the labels and say, oh, damn, like we should be careful of these toxic,
that's dangerous, that's terrible.
I don't think a lot of people do that. So
we don't even do it with food, for gosh sakes, let alone
something even we're putting food, on ourselves, which like we're more aware of, but for that, this is like a learning curve for me. But for me, I typically don't usually go for these labels and read the ingredients. So this is a scary moment, because I don't know, I usually, it's frustrating because I have sensitive skin, I have dry skin. And as you said, every day is a different day for your skin. This product may work one day, the next week, even in the environment, your hormones, whatever it may be, it really differs. And it's frustrating because for me, like it took me forever to find the perfect foundation. It took me forever to find the perfect primer, and they're not cheap. I bought like a $30 primer one day, and it made my skin break out immediately. And you think, okay, this was trending. A lot of people are using this. Like, why isn't it working for my skin?
They've been paid well to say, but the other thing also being vision impaired. Like, I love the app, Frances, because if you do the barcode, Nazreen can do that. But after a while, as vision gets for a person, a lot of us, I don't have a clue. We what brand is something, what's in something, because I'm not going to go online and scan or look for that. Now, well, I won't say scan, because what you've just said here, the app scanning, doing it for me. And I really think, wow, because this has been forbidden fruit, this information to me before.
Yeah, and also even for sighted people, it's not really easy to read the ingredients, because the bottles are usually so small, and then you've got to squish all that font in there. So it's not easy, even if you're sighted, to look at the labels on these products. And Nazreen, I just want to say that, in terms of makeup is almost like a secondary thing. What we want to do is have a really good skincare routine, because when you have a good skincare routine, your skin is clean. It's much easier to have the product that you're putting on top of what you have a very good base to start with, right? It's almost like that foundation that you put on your skin, but you want to start off with like freshly cleaned skin and moisturized, so that you already are prepping your skin to be able to take on that additional layer of product.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, like skincare products, morning routine, night routine, this stuff isn't cheap. So yeah, you do have to really go through the cycle of switching products just to find your perfect product. And when you find it, okay, you're gonna stick with it for a really long time, and
that's just when it'll disappear.
Exactly, and then they stop selling it. It's been done. But we all have those aha moments. But do you remember the moment when you first started questioning what was really in these products that we use?
So I wasn't really much of a makeup person. I still am not, but it was just, I think, as we age, you do notice, I notice, like my skin starts to get a little drier. It's not as, as smooth as it used to be. So then I started, just because I'm interested in health in general, it's not just, what are you eating? But the skin also kind of tells you a lot about what's happening on your body. So in your body and on your body. So whereas when we eat food, we don't necessarily see the effects right away. We don't really know because our diet is so varied. And, what you eat today may not affect you until like maybe if you're eating it regularly, it might not show up until later and you're not going to even know and associate it back to that. But with the skin, if you're putting on product, I think like you said, you can tell right away or fairly quickly whether your skin has a reaction to it or not. And so I was like, well, this is not normal. So then I started looking at the labels. And I think we are, whether it's for better or for worse, we are just overwhelmed with choices now, right? So then it's kind of like, how do you differentiate these different products? So then I started looking into like, well, what is it that they use to make these ingredients? I don't really remember exactly when, but it was sort of, I guess when I started looking into makeup in general, skincare products, I was like, well, what are these companies putting in? Because like you said, it's so expensive. Like, what is in here? Is there gold or something? Like, why is it so expensive? So I started looking into the ingredients there.
Yeah, and we all have to admit, a lot of these ingredients or a lot of these labels are gibberish to a lot of us.
That's
and
right.
I'm one of those people. I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what this means. No, I don't. I just follow what everybody else
I used to think of it even as a teenager when I'd hear about companies that were sued for products, stuff they were using and stuff getting dumped into waterways. So I kind of had more of a environmental concerns before my actual skin. And the worst with skin was, but this doesn't work, my skin's still dry, or something like that. Never really thought too much of the toxic stuff in it, even though I could read about stuff and there was a lawsuit to such and such company because they were utilizing this and it was draining off into a nearby waterway causing toxicity. There were little things like that you'd hear about for years, but you just but they wouldn't allow that. Now that's been stopped, right? Sure it has.
Yeah, but we are running out of time, unfortunately. But can you tell us one thing that you hope listeners will take away from this conversation today?
So I think it's just more the awareness and consciousness of what we are consuming, what we're eating, what we're putting into our bodies, and what we're putting onto our bodies, because again, the skin will basically eat what we're putting on our bodies. And it's not really like trying to be perfect about, clean and avoiding everything toxic, because we know that's not realistic, but it's trying to minimize that. And as a result of that, it's better for our own health and for the health of the planet in general.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Frances.
You're welcome.
That was Frances Wong, and she gave a focus on clean beauty and skincare, which awesome. So chat with her in a month. Kelly, I know it can be complicated with all these skin products, skincare routines, and whatever it is. But we often forget that it's good for now, but in the long term, how is it going to affect your skin? How is it going to affect you? Like, are you going to age quicker? What's it going to do to your skin overall? But we don't think long term. We just think right now.
And that's like you seeing those influencers suggesting this, thinking in your head the first thing that comes out of you is you're not even using the product. Somebody's paying you enough money to say that stuff. And you don't want to be totally always in that headspace, but you want to be realistic. I think it is knowing our ingredients, if we even understand what that might be doing. And there's always going to be somewhere, if you look hard enough, somebody saying, hey, this stuff has this in it and it's terrible for the environment. And like Frances said, you've got to do a lot of weighing out what you're okay with. And there are a lot of people out there that don't care about, I'm not going to be here in 50 years. What do I care? And many that have that conscience, some, that's all they would worry about is what's this going to do to my skin over the long haul? And I know you got to pay attention to it, because some of probably the best things that, make you feel great, your skin may be the lasting, hey, this lasts the longest at keeping me moisturized, might be the most dangerous. So I don't know. I think we get hiding behind the protections of that people are supposed to be giving us, so we're not putting anything bad on our skin. We look for the public conscience in the world that, hey, this stuff, it's not going to harm going into the water. It won't bother fish. And unfortunately, I think we all have our own individual responsibility. But, you want the things that are comfortable for you and what you want. You want to enjoy. This life has been given to you. You want to enjoy it. And that includes the looking well, nice smelling stuff if that's what you're doing, but certainly taking care of, some of these things, toothpaste and stuff, they're pretty darn important, even if they have some things in them that may not be the greatest for the environment, let's say, but we still need to take care of our teeth or we have other big problems that come.
Yeah,
really
and
great.
when it comes to Earth Day coming up, we do often forget that they don't consider that. So when I feel like certain beauty standards or marketing tactics can be doing more harm than good at the end of the day.
For sure. And a lot of time, that's the thing. A lot of time we cancel out things that may be really good, at least for somebody out there. And we have to really think environment and overall health, especially if someone's using something regularly, and we need to get rid of the things that, over time, that's a problem, and not mislead people, as we were talking 49 versus 50 being the pusher. Well, we can use up to 49% of this. It doesn't matter. We're looking for members of the disability community to join our AMI research panel. Our research panel guides us with every decision that we make here at AMI, including programming, media consumption, and accessibility. Participants are compensated for all long-form studies that they get involved with. For more information or how to join, go to ami.ca/panel, because we'd absolutely love to hear from you. Now, I'd like to welcome in our producer, Ramya Muthan, to the program. We're going to have a conversation, Ramya, that we knew you could not miss, all involving chocolate.
Yep. You guys have waited so long to have this conversation, and I'm so honored to be here for it.
It's finally happening.
Yeah, I have notes.
We've had this as a backup item in case we lost a guest or something like that for like 2 months. And Matt Agnew said to me, gee, that's a bit of an older one, Kel. And I said, well, yeah, but Easter's coming. That was my excuse, right? Oh, I'm just saving in case we need it. But in the meanwhile, Easter. Saw an email a little while ago, and I probably should save this for a little more time, ladies, because I want to make sure I get to the 16 items here if possible on the chocolate. But I saw an email, AMI, we're moving our offices, and it's a reminder to bring your equipment in. And it got me thinking that, I guess some people just show up and figure, there's not a monitor here for me what's going on here? I can't just sit at a computer station and log in or something like that. But those of us who have software, who have accessible equipment, I have to say, we're probably a little more organized with knowing we have to show up with our stuff ready to go, ladies. Do you find that, Rummy? Do you agree? Do you think, man, I'm always ready to go. I have to show up knowing there's not going to be accessible stuff here for me. It's just built into my way of thinking.
Pretty much. That's how it is. Like, we're just so used to advocating and assuring that we're going to be accommodated in some way or another, because we've always had to just figure it out. We're crafty, right? Or willing to just tell people how we want it to be done. That's kind of the default mindset that we go into things with now. I'd say a lot of people with disabilities. Yeah,
you
have to have a bigger screen, right? Like that's how do you deal with, especially now, if you were to go into the office, there's none of that there, because it's not like you can carry your screen on the bus and all that.
Exactly. Like, I love my monitors right now. I'm taking advantage of my monitors right now. But when I actually go to the office, thankfully, I got a newer laptop, which is bigger. But before, I had to deal with a smaller screen. I was squinting all day, just shrugging, zooming into every text there. Yeah, it gave me such a headache. But I do have to admit that I do depend on other people's chargers when I get to the office.
That's fair. That's fair.
I go into other people's offices and I'm like, I'm taking that laptop charger because it's heavy, man. It's heavier than you thought.
Yeah, I have to shout out Michael from our IT department, because last time he saw the condition of my phone charger and just swapped me out a new one. He's like, this is dangerous. Please don't use this anymore. But you kind of know,
store
like,
specials, just don't do it.
Get out of here. No, it's just very, very old, and frayed.
Look at that fire. I'm sure.
Nisreen, though, your comment about like carrying things, right, and knowing that you're gonna have a compromised scenario for work when you're at the office, that's another part of the accommodation, Kel, that you're talking about. Like,
Yes. Yes.
I know that I'm not gonna have my best, setup
Equipment.
at
Setup.
work. Yeah,
Setup.
yeah.
That's
The
the
way
best
that I
way,
like
yes.
my the way that I like my computer, the mouse that I like, the positions that I like, but that's okay. But then there's kind of extra things we have to consider now if we're going into the office.
I know Nisreen will have to consider what they put up for her because the new office space, her monitor will take up half of it.
Yeah.
You have to get extra square footage for her.
Exactly. 16 popular candy bars ranked on this list from worst to best. So this is by Samantha Maxwell, and her methodology is she tasted all of these candy bars at the same time on their own. Wow. Ooh. They're ranked according to texture, flavor, and quality of the ingredients used, with a particular focus on how balanced the flavors are, and more complex candy bars rated higher on this list. Lower quality counterparts for the chocolate lovers out there. It should come no surprise to you that Hershey's milk chocolate bar comes in last place in this ranking. The quality of the chocolate is the big problem here.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on this? Do you guys agree with this?
I'm not surprised because I really thought this through. I think they were underrated, but at the same time, the quality got worse and worse. I don't know if it got worse or
Well,
I just
and they were
older and
available
everyone
everywhere, right? Like
bad.
it's also getting a hold of it and price. It's a accessible bar.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it is. If you're just craving chocolate or sugar, I would even say more generically, then it's an option.
Yeah,
it's the option.
Yeah. Folks, obviously, we don't know all of these bars from our own experience, so the ladies have the article as well. I've cut down some, so they may have some feedback from the article from our writer. Payday is the next one on the list, and this is the only one on the list that actually does not contain any chocolate. It shouldn't be too surprised that Payday is near the bottom of the ranking. The caramel center is tough and sticky. Oh, God, how appealing. Making it a little bit hard to chew. Oh, my dentist would just hate me. What did you pull off now, Kelly? It leaves unpleasant residue on your molars. Boy, it's trying to make this chocolate bar attractive. The peanuts do not do much to flatter this candy bar either. Luckily, the brand does offer a chocolate-covered option, so if you're a fan of these salty peanuts, it might be worth checking out. Any experience with this one?
I don't even know what this is.
Payday,
Never even heard of it.
I've only heard of it.
Can you see it? Like, is it one of the ones that are popularly there? No, it doesn't sound good. Nisreen, I'm so picky about caramel.
You don't like caramel?
No, I love caramel. That's what I'm saying. The problem here is she said the caramel, or whoever the person who wrote this article said the caramel is terrible, bad quality.
Oh yeah, leaving an unpleasant residue on your.
Yeah, I'm good. I will pass on
never
that.
mind.
Yeah, it's got to be amazing
I've
caramel.
Never tried this.
Does it bother you to have sticky toffee? Like when you have like some candies, you're sitting there pulling and chewing and that kind of thing.
But even
Does
then,
it actually bother you?
It depends. If it's a really good quality caramel that's just thick, by thick I mean like you pull it, right? Like the good taffy kind of caramel, then it's still awesome no matter
and
how.
it's supposed to melt, really, right? It's supposed to, as you're playing around with it, like melt in your mouth.
Stuck in your teeth and you just like can't get it out.
It's like grainy, or
leaves a grid on it. That's the way this is described. Butterfingers, the next one. If you ask this writer, a certified lover of peanuts, of nuts, peanuts are the absolute worst nut. They lack the subtlety and creamy texture of other alternatives. Instead of offering a bold but simple flavor, it kind of overpowers everything it touches.
I gotta tell you,
do you like those? I don't mind them.
The last one left in the big family pack.
Really?
Always, nobody likes it in our family. No one
All
likes
I think of is Bart Simpson, something like that old commercial. Keep your finger off my Butterfinger, or whatever the heck that was. And I wouldn't try it for the longest time. And I think, like you said, it must have been the last or something. And I tried one years ago, and I didn't mind it, if I recall. I haven't had one for years, but I don't think I minded it.
No idea. Never had it.
You never tried it?
Mm-mm.
But I'm like that
telling
with
you, there
Payday.
are a few chocolate bars on this list that I'm like, I've never even heard of these things.
Tons for me. Like Payday and them I've heard of, have no idea what it is. Heath, this is another one I've never tried. It takes one, it is. It takes one of the all-time worst candies on the list, and toffee, breaks into pieces, and they've covered it in bad milk chocolate. Take a bite, and most all you'll taste is the chocolate itself, as the toffee flavor is not very pronounced, but you'll still be left, here we go with this description again, with a sticky, flavorless little pieces of this English confection stuck to your teeth as well. So not only does it lack the delicious the deliciousness that a candy bar should offer, but now you have to worry about cavities to boot, your dentist's favorite. Okay, I think we probably all agree, and that's kind of the turnoff. Milky Way, the dominant flavor on this one is the caramel, as we were discussing, and there's far too much of it, resulting in a sticky texture that can be difficult to chew. The caramel and nugget are covered in the milk chocolate, and it doesn't taste very high quality. Thoughts on that one? I think we have a little experience with this.
I think it's underrated, man. I love Milky Way. Like,
Me too.
I don't.
Yeah, it's up there.
I feel like it's so underrated. Like, I'll eat it.
Probably because it's not as memorable.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Nisreen, I think that's what it is, though. Like, Milky Way is not one of the top ones that you would grab. You know, like, it's not in my top 3 that I would grab if I just am by the concession stand. I would try it if somebody else has it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Like,
right. But for you, like you wouldn't mind it in bags of goodies or whatever.
It's actually good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Snickers, that's next on the list. They're very similar to the Milky Way, except instead of caramel and nougat, they also boast crunchy peanuts. This does bring them slightly ahead of the Milky Ways, since that added layer is a nice touch to give you a little bit more of a textured candy bar. And if you really like peanuts, this may be one of your favorites, but overall, there's basically no flavor balance here. Everything is just too sweet. It's probably also one of the most filling candy bars on this list, so it would probably make it last longer and feel like you actually ate something. Thoughts?
I love Snickers.
Really?
You don't like Snickers, but you like Milky Way?
I like Mars more than Snickers.
I think I like Snickers the most.
Peanuts, it's just
Snickers
too
is better.
much. The crunchy peanuts are too much for me.
See, I like anything.
That's my favorite. Yeah, anything. Like, give me the whole hazelnuts, whole almonds, whole peanuts. Mr. Big.
I think it's just so heavy. It's really heavy.
Mr. Big always just made me think of like the Rice Krispie.
I did not like
I like
Mr.
that.
Big.
Same with Coffee Crisp. I like that. How about Three Musketeers? This is on this list, and this is kind of similar to Snickers and Milky Way. This one differs from both of those, however. Its lack of caramel and peanuts. Instead, it just has that nougat center, which is wrapped in a blanket of milk chocolate. Out of all three of those candy bars, Three Musketeer is absolutely the best, the writer of this item says. It just doesn't have the overwhelming heaviness of the other two. Agreed?
The first time I ate it was like 2 years ago, and I found out how good it was. So I really liked it.
I ate it years ago. I don't mind it. Oh, it's not one you've had. I don't mind them. Yeah, I don't mind them at all, funny enough. Cadbury Dairy Milk, Fruit and Nuts. Does Cadbury offer the most amazing chocolate on the market? No. Far from it. But compared to the brands we've covered so far, it's arguably, and that is definitely arguably, much better apparently. There's actually an element of milky creaminess here, which makes it more appealing. And with the inclusion of dried fruits and nuts, specifically almonds and raisins, almonds and raisins, it makes for an interesting twist on what might be an actually, or otherwise would be, a boring treat. Now, Ramya, never mind, because the raisins are in there. Even if they disguise them, you're passing.
Listen, fruit should not be combined with chocolate at all.
We're children still.
I do not like orange flavored chocolate. I hate raisins. I don't like anything with fruit and chocolate. Like, nothing should be, this shouldn't be a collaboration. That should not happen.
I love raisins and chocolate.
She said it all.
Oh, good heavens. Very good. Orange, absolutely not.
You surprise me every single day. I'm learning new things about you every single day.
Oh, I love raisin cookies and chocolate.
It's not the same. Like, as soon as you start adding dried fruit to a chocolate, it's not the same as the alt, right? So I used to love the hazelnut dairy milk. And one time my mom thought it was sweet when there wasn't any hazelnut dairy milk to bring this stuff home instead, but I didn't realize it. So I took a bite and I'm like, what? This is not the same. You can't alt one with the other.
You can't.
If it's got fruit and nuts, it's not the same as just having nuts. All right, go on.
Okay, I'm going to have to skip some, folks. Reese's Peanut Butter Bar, and mainly because it's not the Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, has made it on there. The writer really likes the cups, but because it's not Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are not classed as a chocolate bar. Kit Kat, I'm going to skip down to pass, but it's up there near the top of the list, so that's a good one. Yes. I want to go down to this Cadbury Royal Dark, however. It's sort of a stepping stone between the two realities of the last two bars. It's quite a bit richer than and more bitter than others. Cadbury candy bars you'll come across, but it offers still a nice amount of sweetness. Any thoughts on that?
I want to try it. Because she put this as like the middle, right? Like the middle of the road for dark and milk chocolate.
Yeah.
If you've never tried it. Yeah, I want to try it. I haven't yet. Wait, but I eat dark chocolate like regularly now.
I skipped down as to the dark.
This is over Kit Kat though?
Yeah.
Like
now all the stuff in the top like 10 is dark chocolate. Like we're moving into higher quality chocolate, which means you're removing the sugar.
Okay, for me, I hated dark chocolate for the longest time.
For the grown-ups.
Yeah, it's for the grown-ups. I'm more of a
well, the next one certainly is, I'll tell you. The Ghirardelli. The Ghirardelli is really for the grown-ups, right? This is intense 86% cacao with Cadbury's Royal Dark Chocolate. This is not necessarily for the beginners out there, but the Ghirardelli Intense Dark, 86% cacao. Is for that experienced aficionado who likes that dark chocolate, not for the faint of heart. You're getting a lot more bitter than sweetness. Its low sugar content also makes it easier to enjoy a square or two and put the rest around for later on. Here's one I also don't know a lot about, and I think I would absolutely adore, is the Almond Joy. Now, this is one of the best ones, this writer says, on the market. The quality of the chocolate is a little questionable, which is how come it's not ranked a little higher on this list. But since it comprises such a small part of the confection, it's not too much of a problem. The main thing at this candy bar is going for it is the texture under a thin layer of milk chocolate. You'll find soft, pillowy, what a description, almost gooey shredded coconut sweetened to perfection. And then you add the crunch of the almond. Cake, it comes to the texture of it. It just really does it.
I was leaning in, and then you said coconut, and I had to lean right back out.
Yeah.
You don't like coconut?
No, she doesn't.
Not with my chocolate, thank you.
No.
I don't think I've ever tried the Almond Joy. I think I would like it.
Me neither.
I think American, I would. Right?
The descriptions are
a lot of Americans bring it up.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would love to. And then, of course, there's the Mounds, which is the opposite one of it, which I think is even, some would say, even better. One other I want to mention here before we move on. Lindt's Excellent Chili Chocolate. Yes, it is what it sounds like, a dark chocolate spice with a subtle heat of chili. Don't worry, it's not that hot, really. Rather, you're just getting a little breath of the chili. Oh, no? Not one you would try?
I'll put my chocolate in my chili, but I'm not willing to put my chili in my chocolate.
I love Lindt chocolate, but when you say chili into the mix, stop. I'm stopping you right there.
She's trying to convince us. By the end of this article, she's like, and if you trusted me this far, try putting some pepper in your chocolate. No.
Like, no. But I want Samantha's job, man. Ranking chocolate.
Wouldn't this be nice? Ranking any foods, right? Even if you don't like it. I'd even do it if someone hired me to rank actual chili or meatloaf or pasta. Let's talk about this last one here. Lake Champlain salted caramel and chocolate, this unsalted variety, because you're not dealing with something that's overly sticky. Mix that has a salted caramel, with a thin dark chocolate coating, and you have a candy bar that rises above the rest, and that's what you're getting. And that one, am I right? Is that our first one here, folks? No, sorry.
No, there's the pretzel
Tony's Chocaldi chocolate. This is the pretzel one, and this one is number one when it comes to chocolate quality, and it is more expensive. You're not going to find a lot of options in your local grocery store than this Tony's Chocoloni. Yes, it's pricey, but it's worth it if you want to have the best possible candy bar experience. Never tried it, never heard of it until this list.
No, but I will try to find it because it's kind of fun to say. don't want to get it.
I thought he was going to say Lake Champlain at first, but
No.
but no, that sounds good.
No
I
wonder
think
that would make the list. That would make number one. I'm not sure. I like pretzel because it just reminds me of the Twix bars,
Chocolate
kind of, even though that's not pretzel, but that feel.
Yes, like the shortbread.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That sounds really good.
Ramya, thanks for being with us for this. Thought we'd have a great old
fun,
time doing
guys.
this. Thank you.
Yeah, whenever
have
you have
some
more
cravings
important things
right
to
now?
talk about, like stuff,
Chocolate.
very
Yeah.
important stuff.
Like
bring me on.
chocolate? You're on.
Call you in, right? Ramya Muthan, our producer here on Kelly and Company, joining us for our chocolate chat. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly and Co. AMI, if you would. Folks, with a federal election looming, trade tensions making headlines, iconic names like Hudson Bay closing stores across the country, conversations about patriotism are definitely heating up. So today we're asking, what Canadian brands stir up that maple syrup pride? To help us unpack such a question, we're joined by Mind Your Own Business host and entrepreneur Kevin Shaw. Kev, you know all about brand identity and national identity, which go hand in hand. Kevin, let's start with a story, if you would. Can you share a time when you had a great experience with a Canadian brand or business? And good day to you, sir.
And good day to you. I'm for those who can't see, I am wearing my Team Canada jersey from the 2018 Olympics. So I've dressed for the occasion. I had a really good experience with a Canadian company right here in Ontario. They're just north of me. They're called Foamite, and they're a foam manufacturer, and they made my mattress, and all made here in Canada. The factory's literally a few kilometers from my house. And, good to know that I'm buying a product that's made right here. And I thought, hey, this is great. It was a great sales experience. They actually encourage you to take a nap in their showroom. So you can test the mattress, and, they come by and they wake you up 5-10 minutes later and ask you how your sleep was. And so it was a great experience.
Wow. So, and it's funny you say that, because I kind of find that with Sleep Country, I'm very aware, overpriced and stuff like that, and you have to pick the right time to get stuff. But that feeling welcomed by them, feeling good, in that sense, if I've had a problem, the honoring of my warranty. I feel I've had other, but again, Kev, a lot of time I have no idea. I see that Boston Pizza and Montana's are having the issue a little bit that people don't realize they're Canadian, and they want people to recognize, hey, we're Canadian businesses now. We know you're a little frustrated at things down south, but we are Canadian, and we've been started here, we've been founded here. That's the way it is. Kev, would you say, before Nisreen jumps in here with any company she might want to shout out, is it do you find most of us feel we had a good experience if we had a problem, or mainly the service off the top?
I think it's a mix of both, right? So if you're going to a business that sells a product, something physical that you can touch, whether it's Roots or, like my Team Canada jersey here, if you know that you're getting something that's really high quality, that's made in Canada, and maybe there's like a small micro brand or micro factory out there that's that's making something, you tend to swear by the product. Other times you're walking into a store and you're just getting that really great Canadian customer service with a smile, as they say. And people tend to combine the two, where it's like, I got a great product, I got a great service, and then oftentimes sometimes you get the product that doesn't work, and you've got to take it back, and people will vote on the brand based on the service that they get.
That's good. Okay, Nisreen, do you have a company? Anything particular you'd like to shout out?
The first thing that I thought of was Canadian Tire, because it was the longest store that my family and I
That's right.
grew up buying from. So I would say that was the first thing that popped into my head.
And they had the Canadian Tire money, Kev. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
we collected those.
It's gone now.
Rich collecting those, but it was gone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you, when you were kids, you played with that money and pretended that you were, a billionaire.
We felt
And it was all wrinkly and filthy too, like real money.
Well, the greatest was when you would get the Canadian Tire money and it was nice and crisp.
Yes.
That was the best. Canadian Tire is over 100 years old, and they started that campaign in the middle of the last century. And it is one of the things that's actually made Canadian Tire a very unique brand. You cannot go into a store in the States and buy a tent and tires and toys and cleaning products all in the same place. So Canadian Tire is quite unique in terms of retail here in Canada.
Yeah.
How about Canadian Goose, guys? Do you remember buying so much from?
I'd love to buy one of those. You mean the Goose jackets or?
Yeah, they were so expensive. I always wanted one.
Now they recycle them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was an amazing idea. And again, that's interesting because those particular jackets come out a certain time of year. You got to make sure you get to them. I've thought about it as a big guy. I thought, geez, I'd like something like that. But, I think about availability of size, what they might have. I also noticed when I was going to school, I always went to the Bay. And we know right now here in Canada, the Bay is closing.
Yes,
There's going to be the 5 stores. But for some reason, my mother legitimized it for going to shop there, and it wasn't somewhere where they shopped all the time. They were bargain heralds or buy way places that we'd go and get most stuff like that because just for the kids, it doesn't matter. But the Bay was where I went to go back to school. The Bay is where I bought my sport Walkmans all the time. There were just certain things connected, but definitely it was that style of the old quote department store unquote, Kevin.
Well, that's right. At one time, the Bay, the Hudson's Bay Company, they started in 1670, so they're that old. So we're talking about over 350 years old. My math is right.
Wow.
At one time, they owned 1/10 of the Earth's surface. So your Canadian history there, they owned Rupert's Land, and that was the Hudson's Bay Company. And what would happen in the 1600s is that fur traders would come into like a little shack, and there would be one table with hats, and then another table with jackets, and another table with boots, and another table with tools. And that was the first department store. And they were the first ones to actually come up with the concept of the department store. And there is something, I think there is something uniquely Canadian about the Bay, whether it's the striped blankets. I thought the Bay was really good at the basics. So if you needed a pair of tuxedo shoes, you went to the Bay. If you needed a belt that was just plain black, you went to the Bay. Certainly one of the institutions. I had one of those Bay Christmas bears for like the longest time.
Oh no!
Yeah, people go crazy over the blankets. Kev, we got to move along a little bit here because so much you've got here. Roots, of course, another company we can mention, and especially as you wear that jersey with the Olympic pride. But patriotism as a marketing superpower, how is associating with national pride? How can it actually boost that appeal in your country? We obviously know right now there's a huge push.
Yeah, for sure. Aligning your business with Canada and sort of national pride, and we like those homegrown stories. I think it's something that we excel at, especially with our neighbors to the south being a much bigger market than we are. We like those underdog stories. We like hearing those stories of those companies. It's like, this one person started a company and this grew and grew and grew, and now it's just something that's uniquely Canadian and part of our identity. Like Canadian Tire or, at one point, Tim Hortons. There's a lot there, especially if you've got a story around it. The danger comes in if you're just jumping onto the bandwagon and you're saying, hey, we're proud of being Canadian and so on and so forth. But you don't have a story to back that up. It's just, it's just a marketing ploy. I think we as Canadians are pretty sophisticated consumers, and we can kind of sniff that stuff out when we're being lied to.
That's amazing. It really is when you think about all that. It's like unbelievable. Okay, Molson's I think about because since 1786. But Kev, in closing, man, when it comes to this kind of discussion, where do you want to go? Because we're just a little tight on our timing.
Well, yeah, you're right. Molson's, they've got the iconic "I Am Canadian" ads with Joe from Canada. It's definitely something that we should be paying attention to in the next little bit, especially with the tariff talk and with the election coming up. It's going to be really interesting to see how companies will use national pride and patriotism to either sell products with a great story behind them, or try to jump on the bandwagon.
Wow. And that's the whole thing with that authenticity. You want to be sure you're that, instead of like, yeah, you're just trying right now. The big thing is to milk it up. Kev, thanks a lot, man. Great discussion. Appreciate you bringing this up with us. Kevin Shaw, of course, it's clear that patriotism and branding are really closely tied here in Canada, maybe now particularly, of course. When done very well, generally, it can create lasting emotional connections, but it can also backfire when it feels hollow. So we're going to be watching more closely as Canadian companies decide how or whether to lean into national identity in this business climate that we're currently in. Please check out Kevin Shaw and Mind Your Own Business, streamed on AMI Plus, because you can do that up there, or check it out on AMI TV. Nisreen, waving at you. We're going to say good day, and we'll get back at this tomorrow when we're here.
See you then.
Email us at kellyco@kellyco@ami.ca and call us at 1-866-509-4545. On our next show, Christine Malik introduces us to blind comedian David Eagle, and we discuss the ins and outs as a blind person to perform to a sighted audience and what changes when the audience is blind. Fedora's off to you. Talk to you on the next edition of Kelly & Company.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly & Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.